Welcome to In This Body, the online event to support parents and caregivers with staying regulated, embodied, and connected even when things get intense. And today I'm really honored and excited to have Louise Mojica with me. Hi, Louise. Thank
And
you so
Nadine,
much for being here.
you make me so happy just looking at you.
Oh,
I just want to keep smiling.
thank you. Yeah. Louise is a somatic educator certified in holistic nutrition, somatic experiencing, and life coaching. With years of experience working at the intersection of trauma and healing, Louise has become a sought after teacher and speaker in his field. He reaches thousands of students annually through his online courses and webinars and hosts the Holistic Life Navigation podcast. Again, I'm so honored to have you here today with me and with our audience. Um, Tell us more about who you are and what you do.
Oh, thank you. It's really nice to be with you, especially this audience. I love to speak to people who are caregivers and parents and any kind of guardian of children. There's just so much here we can give them, support to make that experience a little more easier. I think what I really do at the end of the day is I teach people how to find safety in their bodies. That's really what the work is, whether it's through somatic experiencing, through techniques I've developed, through nutrition. It's really about teaching people how do I find a place inside of my body and tend to that place that I can anchor into. So just like you said, when there's really intense things, when there's crises, when there's rupture, conflict, I have some place to anchor into so I don't get lost. And so I think what I'm really focused on nowadays, interestingly enough, is conflict. Even though I wrote this whole book called Food Therapy on nutrition, which is an important conversation, how food intersects with trauma and stress healing. But that also plays a really big role in conflict because how regulated you are and how much capacity you have in your body dictates how much you can handle disagreement and relational rupture. So that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, yeah. And conflict is such a usual thing in parent-child relationships at any age, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I want to hear more about that. And yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I start with people understanding that conflict and being triggered and being activated with other people, it feels to our body like threat. So the moment someone says something that offends you or surprises you or makes you angry, the body has a stress response, is what we call it, which just means it makes more stress hormone. So you produce more adrenaline in that moment. So when someone says something that angers you or bothers you and you feel like your blood boil, or you feel your blood pressure come up, your chest gets really tight, or you feel that kind of anxious anger even that emerges, that's the result of excess adrenaline, so excess stress hormones. So from that state, the body perceives everything as a threat. And this is where we go into trauma response with people. So we can go into fight, which is obviously, yelling, hitting, pushing, throwing. You can go into flight, which is how people avoid each other. They walk away, they try to stay away, get space from the other one. We can go into fawning, where you just reflexively agree to try to make someone happy. So you let go of your boundaries and you try to appease them. Or you go into freeze or collapse, where you lose your train of thought, you can't really speak your truth, you feel very shut down around a person. All these things emerge from this elevation of stress hormones. So what's really interesting is when you understand somatic experiencing and you understand nutrition, these are both these incredible practices that help reduce the amount of stress hormones your body produces, all throughout the day. So then when you go into a situation with conflict, you're not already at your ceiling. If I eat certain foods, they're going to increase my stress hormones. So if I'm eating those through the day, my threshold for stress is already met before I've even gone home to my spouse or my child. So then anything they do is just going to go on top of that. And then we're going to have a rupture. But if I'm creating this space and the safety in my body and there aren't as many stress hormones, I have so much capacity to come home after a long, hard day of work and not, be reactive with somebody, but actually connected.
Mm, wow. And it's like understanding how stress works in the body. That's like really, really important.
Very.
Yes. So you mentioned stress and nutrition. I'd like to hear more about how we can actually, what can we actually do to navigate that?
Absolutely. So it's so rare that we think about food and stress. We think about eating food to deal with stress, but we don't think about food causing the stress. And that's what I've been really interested in this past decade, is how certain foods will literally increase your fight or flight responses. And so if you have, and what I do in my book is I categorize foods into three different categories. So I call them stimulants, depressants, and balancers. And just like the name suggests, some foods will stimulate your nervous system, some foods will depress it and numb it and slow it down, other foods will balance it. Once people first know how to feel those states, like feel what it's like to be balanced, stimulated, and depressed, then they can actually start assessing themselves how a food is affecting them. So, coffee, for example, is a stimulant. Everyone knows this cognitively. How it stimulates people is completely unique. So, the way it stimulates you will be different from how it stimulates me. So, some people can have coffee and they don't get stimulated beyond their threshold, whereas other people will. So when you're embodying the response you get from the food through these three categories I'm speaking about, then you start to actually use your body as a barometer and you realize, oh, this food amps me up and gives me a lot of energy and almost overwhelms me. This is one of my stimulants. So when people listen, I always say, think of a food or drink that you would take in if you were exhausted and had to push through something, right? That's your stimulant. And then the depressant would be what food would you eat or drink that slows you down, exhausts you, comforts you when you're actually stressed? Something you would eat or drink if you needed to fall asleep at night, but you had anxiety and you couldn't. And those foods, the depressants, just like I said, they slow you down, they exhaust you, they temporarily settle your nervous system because they take a lot of energy to digest. So while they're being digested, you can't have the energy that would go toward anxiety. And then there's these balancers, and the balancers are not stimulating you, nor are they depressing you. They're actually supporting you to be where you are. And so I always say to people, you're stressed out, you're having a hard day. What's the last thing you would want somebody to make for you? And that's usually a balancer. It's like broccoli, beans, fish. Like no one thinks that's what I want when I'm stressed. But those foods actually help you recover from stress because they don't increase your stress hormones or your stress response. So when people understand there's something called food-induced stress, that your actual meals and snacks are increasing your stress hormones and your stress response, then they get this incredible agency because they can consciously choose. Oh, I'm craving this. That's a stimulant. So if I eat that, it's going to increase the stress in my body. Do I have capacity for that right now? It's not a matter of is it good or bad, right or wrong, healthy, unhealthy. It's can I handle more stimulation right now? So it empowers the individual without even having to understand nutrition.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Uh, and I want to backtrack a bit. You said around people being aware of how that food stimulates them. And I guess that's the most difficult part is
Mhm.
that we go through the day, we're not mindful about, sometimes we're not mindful about what we eat. How can people increase that awareness on how the stimulation is happening inside their body?
Absolutely. So one thing I like to teach people is a really simple tracking method where you're just looking for two sensations, tension and softness. That's it. So even everyone listening can pause and just feel, your jaw, your shoulders, your chest, your belly. Just that jaw, shoulders, chest, belly, and just notice, are they tense and bracing? Are they soft and open? Often you'll notice, okay, my jaw's soft, my shoulders are bracing. It's not all four, in the same zone with each other. They're all going to feel different. But you check that just to get a sense of what's my body doing. The bracing is showing you where you're holding activation or stress. So if my jaw is clenching, that's a sign that my body is holding stress in my jaw. I don't even have to know why. I always say to people, we don't have to know why, we have to know where so we can locate it. So the jaw is holding stress. Okay, now as I eat a food and I learn how to feel those sensations, is this food increasing that bracing in my jaw or is it decreasing it? And this is one way people can start tracking how's food affecting my body. Because when we embody food traditionally, we embody the belly. Like people think, let's feel, take breaths, eat slow, pause between bites because they're trying to feel their stomach itself. I'm actually teaching beyond that. Like if you think about how food affects your nervous system, then you get into, well, how does food affect my stress levels and where do I carry stress? So if someone says I have stress in my shoulders, great. Notice the stress in your shoulders. Go have a snack or a meal. An hour or two later, notice is the stress better, same, or more intense? And that's one simple way people can start tracking this.
Yeah, and it's very simple. Yeah,
Super. Yeah, that's
yeah,
right.
yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Um, the second thing that caught my attention was how you said that people can now have agency when they know how food affects them. And rather than, I think that agency would also help in introducing this mindful approach to what we eat.
Absolutely right. One thing I talk about in the book, I call it becoming the conscious alchemist, because everybody, whether they know it or not, is unconsciously practicing alchemy with their food. So you wake up and you're tired, everyone will grab for chocolate or sugar or caffeine. You just grab for it without thinking. Or you're stressed out in the middle of the day, you're feeling really overwhelmed, you crave potato chips, you crave a muffin, you want some pasta when you get home. Our cravings are so innate, they're so instinctual and intuitive. And those cravings are always, always a compass. They point us toward unmet needs. And we don't have to know why, but we're unconsciously trying to balance our inner state. So my anxiety is trying to get balance with the depressants. My lowness and my depressed state is trying to get balance with stimulants. So all day long, we're doing this up and down. Especially true when you're a caregiver or a parent because you're already exhausted. And now, on top of your exhaustion, you have to care and connect with somebody relationally. So, to get through that, we usually rely on certain foods to change our state or our mood to do so. So when you understand that unconscious alchemy and make it conscious, that's where agency, like you said, emerges. Because now I have choice. Now I can say, I've learned that when I eat chocolate, I have energy for 2 or 3 hours and I crash. I have to be with my child for 8 hours today by myself, right? I don't have any help. No one's home. They're off school today. I just have to be with them. I know if I eat chocolate for 3 hours, I'm good, then I'm going to crash. So I either eat chocolate and 2 hours in, I eat something else to avoid the crash, or I avoid the chocolate and I go toward a balancer, right? You get to choose. It's not good or bad, healthy, unhealthy, or right or wrong. It's just what experience do I want to have right now?
Yes, and it's way more empowering, especially for parents who, as you said, who have this long duration of being in that caring position.
You got it. And I really to tell people when you are parenting, when you are caretaking anybody, that requires capacity, not love, which is a strange thing to hear, right? But I think every parent knows what I'm talking about. Like you can love someone with every fiber of your being. And if your capacity is low, you're not going to be happy with your parenting. You're going to be reactive, you're going to threaten, you're going to yell, some people are going to hit. Like all these things emerge when you're at capacity, regardless of your love, then you feel horrible. But when you realize your parenting ability is completely hinges on your capacity, and then you understand as we're speaking, your capacity increases or decreases based on what you're eating, it's like a no-brainer. My food literally increases my capacity, and from that increased capacity, I parent so much better because now I have the capacity to. And the reverse is true too, if you want to talk about it at some point. Our child's behavior and personality transforms when we apply this stuff to their diet as well.
Yes, and that was actually my next question. Okay, we can apply this on ourselves as parents. How can this be introduced now to our children? Uh,
Yes, I've
yeah.
considered writing a follow-up book just for kids, like for parents for kids for this reason, because it is, oh my gosh, it's incredible. So one thing I'll say for so people can understand, there's a little breakdown in the book. I call it the sugar to adrenaline or the S2A sequence. And what that means is any food you eat that turns into sugar quickly. So let's say pasta. No one thinks of pasta as a sweet food. It's thought of as savory. But pasta is made from flour, rice flour, wheat flour, whatever kind of grain. That flour, when you chew it and swallow it, gets digested in your intestinal tract. And within 10, 15 minutes, the body actually transforms it into glucose, which is blood sugar. So something that is completely savory, that has no sweetness to it, turns into sugar. It's like eating sugar in your body, 15 minutes later. That's important to understand because whenever you have food that turns into sugar, and that's the baseline of your diet, that's what increases your stress hormones. Its glucose spikes literally create adrenaline spikes, which are your fight or flight response. And kids, their diets are primarily made of these foods because that's what's marketed the most to them. And it's also what's the most palatable and it's the easiest. It's really easy to heat up macaroni and cheese. It's really easy to give someone a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's really easy to give someone a fruit roll up. Like these are easy things, but they spike the glucose and then they spike your fight or flight. So a child who has their fight or flight response spiking because their glucose is unstable, that's what we call a tantrum. The majority of tantrums we see, that's a child who is at capacity. They're tired, they're hungry, their glucose is out of balance, they have too much adrenaline, and so they're angry, they're biting, they're screaming, they're having meltdowns. It's not because that's who your child is, it's that's how a child is when they're eating that kind of food. And when parents test this out, which I love it because you can just test it out, is you don't have to argue, you just try it and see what happens. They instantly, I mean, within a couple hours, because it's so quick, they start seeing shifts with their child because they're not having that instability of glucose. And, by the middle of the first day, you start noticing, whoa, my child is way more balanced, has way more patience, and is way easier to be with.
Yeah, yeah. And it's empowering to our children as well when
That's right.
we let them know about these choices, and I guess it's also building a habit
Yeah.
in those younger years. Yeah.
It really is. It empowers them in so many ways because, like you said, you're building this habit. So by the time they're an adult, they have this incredible instinct from years of developing this of how to navigate their body and nutrition in the world. But you're also empowering them because when you give your child a can of soda in a 6 hour car ride, you're not even giving them a chance. Like within an hour or two, they're going to be so stressed out. Their patience is going to be gone. They're going to be irritable. They're going to want more food. They're going to be angry. So you actually give them a better chance at education, at retaining information, having good relationships, even enjoying their time they have with you based on what you're feeding them. And when you see it through that lens, it's so much easier to have the boundaries because otherwise it can really feel like you're harming them by removing all this fun food. But really you're helping them on so many levels,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Yes. And I'm gonna add this layer when our kids become tweens and teens, and like just adding the adolescence layer and dealing with this change in hormones and like all the body changes. Um, any particular message you have for parents of teens, especially?
Oh
Uh,
my gosh. Yes, I'm the parent of an almost 12-year-old, so I'm right there. And what's so important to understand is the most fundamental change happening for them are their sex hormones, right? These sex hormones are increasing, so estrogen and testosterone are increasing in the different sexes, and it's transforming everything. It's not just about sexual puberty, it's transforming their heartbeat and their skin and their liver and their bones and their brain, like every part of their body is transforming. So who they are is transforming. And what makes that transition for them in the puberty years easier is having a very well, how do I call this? An efficient liver. The more efficient the liver is, the less stressed out the liver is, the more it can filter out this excessive amount of sex hormones that's coming through during puberty. When the liver gets backed up and those sex hormones are building in the blood, that's when you get a lot of like acne, irritability, really horrible PMS, endometriosis, all these different things that start emerging that make puberty, which is already difficult on so many levels, even more difficult. So when you're eating this way and you're lowering stress hormones, you're actually making it easier for the liver to filter out the sex hormones that are increasing. And that keeps their puberty way more balanced and keeps their mental state and their mental health way more balanced because their mind is really influenced by their hormones each day, male and female. So it's so important to see you're actually supporting their puberty as well with this nutritional approach.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing that. The scientific explanation sort of makes it way more easier to for parents to put those boundaries in place.
Yes.
Uh, yeah, yeah. And I know if you'd like to share a little bit about your personal story and your background, just with the audience who don't know you well enough, because I think your teen years sort of were a very big impact on the work that you do.
Oh, huge. I mean, I have so much empathy and understanding when we're talking about puberty, exactly for what you're saying. So I was born into an intersex body, and people that don't know what that means, it means when your body has ambiguous expression of sex characteristics. So it can mean genitals, it can mean chromosomes, it can mean hormones. For me, it was my hormones, and my body turns testosterone into estrogen. It still does to this day. It's just I've learned how to balance it. And so when I was going through puberty, like right around the fifth grade, sixth grade, I was developing breasts and I was developing hips and I couldn't put on muscle. And I felt very feminine and I felt very depressed because my hormones were so out of balance. So I was really kind of devastated as a person. And now that I understand what I understand now, my body was going through so much stress with all this estrogen and testosterone kind of competing. And then I was overeating because the way my body looked, it got me a lot of unwanted attention. So I had a lot of bullying, I had assault, multiple different traumas of every kind you can imagine. And from that place, the anxiety in my body and the pain from those events, the only way I could quell that anxiety was through eating. So I developed a binge eating disorder for 20 years because eating a lot of food, the depressants especially, would kind of quell that anxiety for a few hours. Then it would come back and I'd have to eat more. And then eating all those foods gave me a ton of chronic illness because these foods were highly processed. So I was then getting sick from them. So my teen years were really filled with massive, I mean, chronic illness, being bedridden all the time, always not being able to go to school. I was completely dependent on this machine that would pump steroids into my lungs so I could breathe twice a day because I had such debilitating asthma. I was very, very sick. And looking back on it, I understand, oh, if I understood this piece about hormones, well, first of all, they didn't know I was intersex. No one understood what it was. So it was kind of, I was like a medical mystery at the time. This was in the 90s. But looking back now, I mean, I manage my hormones completely naturally now. I don't have any medication because I understand now, oh, the more stress hormones, the more sugar, the more my estrogen goes up, the more my liver has to overwork, and then everything gets out of balance for me. So I understood from my own experience when your hormones are out of balance and your insulin is out of balance and your glucose is spiking and your adrenaline is spiking, it's a whole other body and mind to work with. And then when you get into these balancing foods, you literally become a new person. Like your perception, your ability to think clearly, your imagination, your heart, your ability to love, like everything changes because your body isn't so overwhelmed.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Understanding the body and how it operates, again, I think I said it at the beginning, but it's like the missing piece that
Yes.
we need to enjoy life.
It's such a good way to put it. It's like that's how simple it is. It's the missing piece we need to enjoy life. We learn all this other stuff in the world, and nowhere throughout the 12 years of school do we learn how to understand our bodies. We just don't learn that. It's so vital.
Mm, mm. So I know everybody is now curious, what are these balancing foods? And
Yes.
I know they will have to read your book uh, to know, but like any sneak peeks you'd
Oh, I'll
like to
teach. I'll
share?
teach some for sure. I'll give you enough to walk away with and practice. How about that? So I'll say a couple things. The top three balancers would be beans, greens, and proteins. They're the top three. And they all work together so beautifully to balance your glucose, to reduce glucose spikes, even if you have sugar, to increase your gut microbiome, which means the bacteria that gives you all these nutrients, to help stabilize your neurotransmitters. These are the chemicals in your brain that make you happy or sad. So these foods do all that. So when they're the basis of your diet all throughout the day, not don't have to have them all at once, but it's all throughout the day. It's beans, greens, proteins. You are consistently nourishing your nervous system and balancing your glucose. So you're reducing or even avoiding and preventing those stressful adrenaline spikes, the spikes in stress hormones. They're just not happening with these foods. When it comes to parents, my favorite thing to teach people is to get your kids hooked on a fat with some kind of complex carbohydrate like a vegetable. The most easiest one is peanut butter with celery sticks and like some raisins or dates on top. It is one of the easiest ones to get your kids hooked on whole foods because all those things are whole foods. Yes, there's some sweetness in the dates or raisins. It's nothing bound to the celery and the peanut butter. It's a great balancing snack. And it starts training their taste buds to get into something that's crunchy and alive and juicy and savory and has all these complex notes to it. Once you get them into nuts and seed butters, and you have some fruits and some vegetables, you are smooth sailing. Because if they're eating, like my daughter, she'll have a handful of cashews and a couple handfuls of blueberries. That would be a snack. That is like, she is a whole different child when that's her snack versus a donut or cereal or juice. Like she's a whole other child. So add some kind of a fat with some kind of complex carbohydrate like fruit or a vegetable. It's a great way to bring some balancers to the children.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah. Uh, for those who are interested to dive deeper into food therapy, uh, how can they find your book or know more about the work that you do?
Yeah, so I'll show you this is what it looks like. So if you're looking online, this is what the book looks like. And you can get it really anywhere right now. It's available all over the world. So you can go to my website, holisticlifenavigation.com. And on my website is the book page, and there's all these different links for different countries. You can go to your favorite bookstore and order it through them if they don't already carry it. Libraries have it. I mean, anywhere that has a book, you can get it. If you live in a country where you can't get it physically for a while or it's difficult, you can get the audiobook right away and listen to that. And I've narrated it myself, so it has a very personal touch. But that's the best way to get the book.
Thank you. And I'll put the links under the recording. Um, uh, as to wrap up, I want to go just one question
Hmm.
around. Uh, I want to go back to that idea of tracking the sensations in our body and like being mindful about it. And I remember in one of your teachings, you've mentioned something around the body being its whole different being and us just having that distance between us and this body.
Hmm.
If you can just speak a little bit to that, to help people um, uh, with this practice of being mindful.
Yeah, great. So this is a philosophy I call the sovereign body. And this philosophy is just as you've said, just as Nadine has said, where you're learning to tell the difference between you, which is the energy that witnesses things, and your physical body, which essentially is an animal you inhabit. And that can be strange for some people at first. They're like, I am my body. That's okay. If that's how you identify, that's fine. But you want to notice if I can look at my hand, I'm witnessing this hand, right? When something hurts, the pain erupts from the body. It's not me causing the pain. When something itches, the body itches. So there's this body and there's me witnessing it. When you have that slight disconnect where you aren't the body, but you're witnessing the body, then you have this ability to essentially parent the body, support the body, coach the body, befriend the body. If you're not doing that, what tends to happen is you identify with the body. So if you're in pain, you say things like, I am in chronic pain. If you have anger in your chest, you say things like, I am angry. So you identify with these states. And when you identify with them, you can't actually be with them in another way. So if I'm saying I'm angry, but then I go into the sensation of anger and I notice there's a little circle of fire in my chest. The reality for me is there's anger in my chest. I'm not the anger's in this body. So it gives me this little step back to witness the anger and tend to it. And through that, we gain this beautiful experience called self-regulation, where my body starts to settle as I witness it, just like a child who wakes up in the night from a nightmare. And you go in and you hold her, and she settles. The body does that with us when we're in relationship with it. So it's a philosophy I really live by, and it has spiritual roots, that's for sure, but it's also very practical. People can just test it out themselves and notice, wow, when I put my hand over a place, it responds to me. It's like this amazing relationship emerges.
Yeah, that's a very beautiful concept that really helped me
Mm,
personally. And yeah, sharing it with others is just so empowering. So thank you for that. And eh, yeah, being okay that the body needs its nutritional needs, and we're just here to help it out. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And that's what my one of my favorite things in the book is I have a whole chapter on cravings and people to see cravings as signals that the body's literally saying, I need comfort. I need vitamin C. I need, protein. Like it's showing you its needs. So when you learn how to listen, then you can help it.
Yes. Anything else that you'd like to share today?
I mean, anyone that sees this that wants to go deeper, I have a 6-month program. I have two. One's in July, one's I think in October. And the one in July is a nutrition program, and the one in October is a parenting program. So that's kind of perfect for you and people here. But you can go to my website and look at all those. It's all at holisticlifenavigation.com is where everything is.
Mm, Thank you so much. Really, really thanks. This has been great. Yeah,
Oh, my pleasure, my friend. It's so good to be here with you.
yeah, thank you.